So assignment 3 is on solving equations that involve distribution, where we need to distribute first to simplify. So our learning targets, we're going to use distribution to simplify an expression. And after we do that, then we will have a two-step equation that we need to solve. So it's the same as we did in the last lesson, except that there's one additional step, which is multiplying. So if an equation has grouping symbols, which is another name for parentheses, then we need to use distribution to simplify and then complete the problem as we did with two-step equations. And we're going to do a little review of distributing first. So the first thing I want to talk about is the area model, using the area model to show how you can multiply. So if you had a rectangle, and we wanted to find the area of a rectangle. Let's say this rectangle was 3 units high and 4 units wide. If we wanted to find the area of that, we would multiply the length times the width. So we would get 4 times 3, and that would be 12. So we're going to use that idea to multiply this. So now this is like our rectangle is 4 units high. But the width of our rectangle is 2 plus 6. Now, with just integers, you could add that and write that it's 8, but I want to show you how to apply this other area method because we're going to do it later with variables in it. So I'm going to draw this rectangle and actually split it into 2. So this piece of the rectangle, this little short piece, is represented by 2. That's 2 units. And this longer piece is 6 units long. So if we were going to find the area of each of these, this rectangle, if we did base times height or length times width, would be 2 times 4, and 2 times 4 is 8. This rectangle would be 6 wide and 4 tall. So if we want to find the area of this rectangle, we would multiply 6 times 4 and get 24. So the area of the entire thing then, if we added the two together, 8 plus 24, the total area would be 32. So now we're going to do it with subtraction, but also with a variable in it. So there's a section in Delta Math that's going to have a problem like this. And it's a little bit different because they give you certain pieces and you need to fill in the rest. So here's our general expression that we need to simplify or multiply. 2, so you can see that 2 is the height right there. And then the pieces are 9s and minus 5. Well, here's the minus 5 piece, the negative 5 piece. That means that this other piece must be the other part of that expression, which is the 9s. And you can check your work because those should multiply to give you what's inside the box. Just like up here when we multiplied the length and the width, or the height and the width, and we got that number inside the box, we got 8. When I multiply these two now, 9s times 2, I should get the number inside the box, which is 2 times 9 is 18, and then s. For the other blank, the other box that you need to fill in, this is more like the one we did on top. We have the height of this rectangle and we have the width of this rectangle. So if we want to figure out what goes inside, we multiply those, and 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. So they're going to have 2 missing pieces in the problem that you need to solve for. Our next section, example 2. We are, again, practicing distribution. And it says, which expression is not equivalent? So doesn't equal 24x plus 18. So there's a line here. You can actually do it. You could draw out the rectangle model, but when we distribute, oftentimes instead of drawing that, we should draw an arrow to show that we are going to multiply. So up here, when we multiply, you end up multiplying the 4 by the 2. So you multiply this number that's in front by the first number, and then we multiplied the 4 by the 6 by the second number, and then we combined them and got 32. So we're going to do a similar idea here. The 6 gets multiplied by the first term inside and by the second term inside. And to kind of help us keep track, because sometimes these problems can get really long and you can lose track, we're going to draw the little arrows. So we're going to distribute this 6 in. We're going to multiply it by the first term. 6 times 4 is 24, and it has the x. And then we're going to distribute it to the second term, or multiply it by the second term. 6 times 3 is 18, and then we add those together. Well, that does equal 24x plus 18, and we're trying to find the one that is not equivalent, so we need to keep going. So this next one over here, we're going to distribute or multiply this number in front through to both terms inside. So 2 times 12 is 24, and we have the x. And then 2 times 9 is 18. Oh, that's what we were supposed to get, so that's not the correct answer. This bottom left one here, 4 times 6, well, 4 times 6 is 24, and it has the x. And then distribute to the second term. 4 multiplied by 8. 4 multiplied by 8 is 32. So that one is not equivalent. They both have the 24x, but this one has a 32, and we wanted 18. So this is the one that is not equivalent. Just for the heck of it, let's check this last one and make sure that it actually does work. So we're going to take this 3 in the front and distribute it in. 3 times 8 is 24, and it has an x. And then the other one, 3 times 6 is 18. So that one also is equivalent, 24x plus 18. Okay, so here we're going to try another one. You should have the y's on yours. I missed it when I did mine, but you should have this on yours. So this time, which expression is equivalent? So we're going to multiply or distribute each of these out and try to see which one gives us 100 plus 20y. Okay, so here we're going to start with the 5, the number in front, and we're going to multiply it through to everything in those grouping symbols, everything in the parentheses. 5 times 20 is 100. So far, so good. But then 5 times 3 is only 15y. I didn't get 20y, so not going to work. Let's go to this next one over here. Starting with the 10 in the front, I'm going to distribute it in. So I'm going to multiply it by the first term. 10 times 10 is 100. And then distribute it through to the second one. 10 times 2 is 20y. Yeah, that's what we were looking for, 100 plus 20y. So this one works. Let's see if any other ones work, because sometimes there's more than one correct solution. This one, distribute the 4 in, multiply 4 by the first term. 4 times 25 is 100. So far, so good. And then 4 times 1, well, that's only 4y. So we got the 100, but not the 20. And our last one that we'll check, starting with the 20 that's out in front, we're going to multiply it in. 20 times 5, again, we get 100, so the first number is correct. And then when we distribute 20 times 2, that is 40y. So once again, our first term matches, but the second one I was supposed to get 20y, and we got 40. So let's practice a couple. Use the distributive property to rewrite an equivalent expression. So that means we actually want to multiply that number in. So here we have a 9 out in the front. And you see, now you have 3 terms in here. So we're going to have to make sure that we multiply that 9 by each one of those terms that's inside the grouping symbols or parentheses. So starting with the 9, and this is where it's helpful to start drawing those arcs. We're going to multiply it by the h. 9 times h is 9h. Then we're going to distribute it to the next term and multiply 9 times negative 8 is negative 72, and that has a k. So negative 72k. And the last term, multiply 9 by the 4 and get 36. So this would be a great place for you to pause the video and try an example. Just like we would do in class, I would have you try something and then we would come back together and do it together so you could see how you did. If there's any errors, try to see where it went wrong. So maybe pause the video, try this one, and then start it again and you can check to see how you're doing. Okay, now that you've tried this one, let's do it together and see how it went. 3 is out in front, so I'm going to distribute or multiply that 3 by everything in the parentheses. When I multiply the 3 by 2, I get 6x, and then distribute it through to the 6. That's a subtraction sign, which looks the same as a negative, that because it acts the same as a negative. So this is like a negative 6. 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. So finally, we're going to get into solving and using the distribution to solve. Example 4 is what we've already been doing. So there's nothing new that involves distribution today. There are no parentheses. We just want to solve for A. So the first thing I'm going to do is do what I talked about the other day and draw that line down through my equal sign as just like a balance point for us, a visual reminder that what we do on one side, we need to also do on the other side. And I'm trying to get this A by itself. I want to solve for A. So the first thing I need to do is to move the 6. And to do that, since it's plus 6, I'm going to subtract 6. I'm going to do the opposite. Remember, we kind of go backwards order of operations when we are solving because we're undoing things. So the reason I'm going to subtract 6 is because 6 minus 6 is 0 now, and those will be gone. But you have to keep it balanced. So if I subtract 6 from one side, I have to do the same thing and subtract 6 on the other side. So negative 12 minus 6, think of it, you're on a number line here, right? Here's 0. If I go back or negative 12 in that direction, and now I'm subtracting 6, so I'm going 6 more in that same direction. I want to go another minus 6. So where do I end up? If this is negative 12 and I continue that direction for another 6, now I've ended up at negative 18. So negative 12 minus 6 is negative 18. Bring your equal sign down, your negative 2a down, and then 6 minus 6 is 0, so these are gone. That was the reason I do the opposite. And your last step is multiplication division. This means negative 2 times a, and the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we're going to divide by negative 2 to isolate the a. Negative divided by negative is positive. 18 divided by 2 is 9. And then these 2's, 2 divided by 2 is 1, so that's just a 1a. So we get a equals 9. Okay, here's our last example. We have 2 of them, but it's our last example. So we're going to combine those two things now, the distribution that we did at the beginning with the solving that we just did in example 4. If you start, so you just combine those two things. So if you start with the distributing like we did at the beginning, I'm going to take this 10. There are no parentheses over here, so we're not doing anything to this right-hand side. If I take this 10 and distribute or multiply it in, 10 times x is 10x. Then distribute or multiply the 10 by the negative 1. 10 times negative 1 is negative 10. The 30 we're just going to bring down. So we get to here, and now we're exactly the same kind of problem that number 4 was. We have a 2-step equation to solve. So I'm going to draw my line down through my equal sign as my reminder. Reverse order of operations, so I'm going to do addition, subtraction first to move this 10. It's being subtracted right now, so the opposite of subtraction is addition. So we're going to add 10 and add 10 to the other side. So bring this 10x down. These cancel out. Negative 10 plus 10 is 0, so they're gone. Bring our equal sign down. And 30 plus 10 is 40. And our last step is the multiplication or division. 10 and x, if there's no operation, these are being multiplied right now. This means 10 times x. The opposite of multiplication is division, so we're going to divide each side by 10. 10 divided by 10 is 1, so I get 1x equals, and 40 divided by 10 is 4. So I want you to take a moment, again, just like before. I've done one of these problems. Pause the video, grab a piece of paper, or you can do it right on your notes, and attempt this problem. And even if you can't finish it, see how far you can get, and then when you resume the video, maybe it'll be able to help you. Okay, now that we're back, let's do this last problem. So this 2 that's out in the front, we're going to distribute through to the parentheses. So we're going to multiply the 2 by the 3, and that gives us 6y. And then distribute or multiply the 2 by the negative 8. 2 times negative 8 is negative 16. There are no parentheses on the other side right now, so there's nothing to do there. We will get problems where we have them on both sides, but this one only has an 8, so we're going to leave that for now. Then we're going to draw our line, right? Our visual reminder that we have to keep it balanced. Reverse order of operations, so addition and subtraction come first. This negative 16, I'm going to do the opposite, which is to add 16. And then I have to balance my equation by also adding it on the other side. So bring down your 6y. Negative 16 plus 16 is 0, so those are gone. Bring down your equal sign. And 8 plus 16 is 24. Your last step, 6y, when there's no symbol in between, no mathematical operation, means multiplication. So right now this is 6 times y. The opposite or inverse of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide by 6. And to balance our equation, I'm going to divide the other side by 6 also. 6 divided by 6 is 1y equals 24 divided by 6 is 4.